Keller-Williams. I'm sitting here with Matt Stegich. He's with Chicago Title. He is the title attorney and escrow officer here at Chicago. And a little bit of his background: he is his undergrad was received from Yale, and he also got a Juris Doctorate from LSU. So he's definitely a good person to have in the room whenever you have questions. So leading right into that, Matt, why choose the right title company? Why is that important?
Choosing the right title company is important because we function as the manager for your closing. We're going to work with the buyer and the seller, the agents, the lender, anybody else who might be involved to make sure that your closing happens on time, everything stays on track, and make sure that we have a successful closing. We have knowledge of the closing process. We handle everything with title and escrow here. We also have great communication, which keeps everybody in the loop on what happens. So I think that's most important because a lot of people want to know what's going on and want to make sure that their closing stays on track.
Which is important, because there's timelines involved. You might be selling a house and having to buy one, and a lot of things need to happen in concert and to be on time for those things to happen. So what is title insurance?
Title insurance is an insurance policy. It works a little bit differently than the insurance that you and I might be used to. Whereas auto insurance affects your actions going forward. If you were to have an accident, they would cover you. Title insurance works retroactively, so it ensures your ownership of the property from the time that you close backwards to make sure that there's no liens, bankruptcies, judgments, lis pendens, anything like that that might have an effect on your ownership in the property. So it says that you are the 100% owner. You have insurance proving it, and if for any reason something came up that affected your insurance or your ownership, the title insurance would cover it. It essentially makes sure that you have the ability to leverage your property. If you're to put a mortgage on it, you would have to have a title insurance policy. We also have products available like a survey endorsement, which ensures that the survey that of your property is 100% the way, describes your property the way it is, that any shortages in area or any difference in the boundaries don't affect your property, and that you would be insured if they did.
Basically, are we talking shortages of boundaries or boundaries like fence lines?
Yeah, exactly. So if you had a dispute with a neighbor over a fence line, you would be able to be insured by your title insurance policy if that boundary was misrepresented in your survey. So if essentially it just saves you money in the long run if something was wrong with your property.
Great, and that's great insight, because there are a lot of questions about what is this title policy, how will I, another thing, there are many things out there as we're talking about these timelines in the contract. You've closed a lot of loans. Mm-hmm. What are some things to be aware of that might delay a closing that we might be able to head off with preparation?
Well, starting from the beginning, as you start putting your house on the market, it's important to know whether you have a survey on the property that's up to date. That's something that your listing agent's going to need. It's something we need for the closing. If you don't, you might have to purchase a new one, but it's something that can be negotiated in the contract. Also, to have your mortgage insurance information or your mortgage information available, just to make sure that we can order a payoff on your property. It's also important to let us know if there's been a divorce that affects the property, any kind of death of an owner, if the property is involved in a probate, bankruptcy, something like that could drastically slow down the closing process. In this competitive market, time is money, to use a cliche.
Yeah.
So every day that you close late could cost you money, or you could lose a contract over it. So these things need to be handled ahead of time. For the buyers, it's a competitive market, so it's important to have your mortgage information available ahead of time so that you can be pre-approved. It's important to have all your finances in order just to make sure that you can bring a strong offer and offer an on-time closing that won't be delayed by anything from the buyer's end, such as not being approved or something like that.
Absolutely, and having an understanding of what those timelines are in a contract, so you can be aware of them and be doing what you need to do in order to get this thing happen and make sure it doesn't delay. Well, hey, if you have questions about title insurance, real estate, laws, or procedures, Matt is a great option. His contact information will be below. You can call him, ask him. He's a great reference. And if you're planning on selling in 1 month, 2 months, or maybe 6 months, I would love to sit down with you and help you prepare because a successful transaction starts with great preparation, and I would love to be the one that sits down with you and helps make that happen. Again, this is ChrisLee with Matt Stegich, and thank you for tuning in.